In my world there is music and good vibes and laughter and lovers, adventure and friendship. We know who we are.
Welcome to Be the Wellness Podcast, where we help you master your body, mind, and the experience of life through insightful conversation, interviews with experts and thought leaders, all with a side of marital banter and some good old-fashioned humor.
Yes, we are your hosts, Adam and Vanessa Lambert, and we're committed to helping you live life fully expressed physically, mentally, and experientially. Sit back, grab a cup of coffee, and join the conversation. Welcome to Be the Wellness Podcast. I feel so tuned in. How about you?
Yeah. It's definitely a reverby room that we've got going on here.
Yeah, we are in our new office here in Jackson Hole. And this little area rug we have is not doing quite the job to dampen the whole space. But
it needs some professional sound treatment.
But to be fair, when we tuned in, it was really nice to listen to.
Yeah, it sounded good in here. Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully it's okay for you guys. So
it's like the ultimate shower.
Yeah, exactly. Energetic shower. We wanted to share a little bit with you from our Kundalini practice that we've been pretty deep into now for the last, 6 months really, since I started my teacher training. And then you and I have been really...
Like December.
Yeah, every single day.
Yeah.
About an hour and a half to 2 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
for the last month or
well,
so.
like
month
an hour and a half for sure. And then there was like during the celestial, whatever was going on for that week, it was like all day.
It was all day, every day.
It was wahe all day.
It was wahe all day, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty crazy little celestial set of circumstances that happened.
A celestial set of circumstances.
Fucking circumstances around that Christmas period where we've had the solar eclipse, we had the Saturn Jupiter conjunction, and we had winter solstice.
Right.
And so kind of in the yogic world, there was a lot of attention being paid to being in meditation, being in prayer, being in your yoga practice, being in your spiritual practices deeply during that period of time. And, you know, it's crazy because the whole idea is that during some of these celestial events where the timing is really heightened, where the energy is sort of turned up, you have an opportunity to kind of grow by leaps and bounds. And it's crazy for us because we really were practicing. I mean, for a few days, for the week there of winter solstice, we practiced, 2-3 hours a day, but we were kind of in it.
Yeah.
All
well,
day
it was kind of
long.
like spread out, right? So it's like there would be a set and then we'd like work and then there'd be a set, but there was always something going on.
Something going on. Yeah. We were tuned into the Rama TV Winter Solstice Fest and just kind of really tuned in with a lot of people around the globe that were tapping into these celestial events and really trying to heighten their energy during this specific period. And I mean, it's pretty crazy because we went from, you know, we got to Jackson Hole. We had a place here for 1 month. Just rented for the month of December so we could kind of get our feet on boots on the ground, so to speak. But we didn't really know where we were going. We didn't have a place. And it was like within that period of time, we found our place. Like
it was literally like the end of that week.
Yeah.
It was like everything just went plop, 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 plop and fell into place, which was a trip because like I was, you know, preoccupied that whole time with like, why are we doing this shit? We got stuff to do. Like we're just spending all day long fucking yogiing. You know what I mean? And then you're like, oh, dude, what a trip. Everything just sort of lined up.
Well, yeah. And this, you know, this is part of the reason that I really want to do this podcast at this particular time, because we're coming into a brand new year, a brand new energetic imprint, if you will. And you know, this is the kind of stuff that I really am so excited and inspired to share, to impart, and to help create in our community because, you know, we have gone through the old paradigm of, you know, more work equals more results. And trust me, if you were going to get the award for working the hardest, we would have won the game.
Right.
Trust me. You know, I mean, Adam had 2 full-time jobs for 3-4 years there. I mean, and so I think where we're coming to is just really this kind of soul activation into attracting more energetic frequency that then we don't necessarily have to go out and, you know, do all the legwork or all of the, you know, the minutia that goes along with the output that we used to. It's like, let's really rev up our frequency and get really attuned to the things that we want to draw in. And let's work at that frequency. Let's work at that alignment. So these things that we really are committed to creating can find us. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's pretty amazing. It kind of works.
Well, that's the thing, right? It's like, I have a really hard time, you know, believing in this stuff. Right. And like, and that's ultimately what it takes because there's no real scientific basis. Right. So it's like you get to a point and people are like, well, we just don't know enough about the science yet. And you're like, well, that might be true. But what we do know about the science says that this isn't how it works. But if shit works, why not? You know what I mean? Like that's, and this is really kind of the place that I've come to with it is like with so much of this stuff where, you know, I had well, I still have, right? A very healthy serving of skepticism just like baked into my DNA, you know? But what's really changed, I think, is like, who cares? Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, okay, yeah, be skeptical, but like, why is your skepticism like blocking out entire potentialities in your life, right? When there's like no downside. It's not like I'm like, well, I don't think I can swim with these, 40-pound weights on my feet, but if I believe it enough, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm not going to drown by dabbling, right?
Right.
And Genghis Khan, like, famously never tried to convert any of the places that he raped and pillaged and took over, right? Never tried to, like, switch them into some sort of, subservient religion or anything like that. His whole thing was like, dude, pray to whoever you want as long as you're praying for me, right? It was like this sort of celestial insurance is what he practiced. He's like, I don't know. These guys might be right. It's like, we might be doing this shit all wrong, but these guys have got it right. So if they're praying for me, then that's one more, feather in my cap, so to speak.
Right.
And so that's kind of where I've been going with a lot of this stuff lately. Is it's like, dude, why not? And frankly, like with the Kundalini, I feel really good afterwards, like physically. I mean, there's a serious breathing practice involved, which always makes you feel good. And then there's a real potential that with my index finger and my middle finger, I'm actually moving Saturn and Jupiter around. You know what I mean? And that's making me smarter. So I'll try it. I'm in.
Well, no, it's been actually really amazing to see you come on board. And I think, you've always liked Kundalini.
Yeah,
like we've done it for years and years. And you've always, I remember the very first time we went to Kundalini, you were like, oh, I like this kind of yoga.
Yeah.
Like I could get down with this. This makes sense to me in a way. It was like the language they used. And really it's less esoteric and more really like practical in the sense that they're like, we want you to just add this to your life and watch what happens.
Right.
And if your life seems like it's better, then keep doing it.
Yeah.
And they're not really that worried about what God you believe in or what color you wear. I mean, obviously there are yogic beliefs and you can go deeper into the system and you can, indoctrinate yourself to whatever degree you're interested. But by and large, the Kundalini yogic philosophy is like, just add this to your life. And if it works, we want you to keep doing it. Yeah. Because we want your life to be good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so shockingly similar to Landmark that it's bizarre. It really is. It's like, it's all the same stuff. It's like very in your face about everything. It's like, look, this either is or it isn't. And, that's either good or bad, depending on your perspective. Don't make it mean anything about anything.
Right.
Like if it works, it works, and that is like, that's the thing I can get behind,
Yeah.
It's like, okay, cool.
However, I will say that as we've gotten deeper into our commitment to practicing every day, you and I have both noticed some pretty amazing, like spiritual or even psychedelic like experiences from certain teachers and the projection that they have in their teachings. I mean, there's really something to these people who've held this knowledge for, who knows, lifetimes. But in this lifetime, some of the teachers we're working with 30 and 40 years have been holding these teachings, practicing these teachings. And when you're sitting with these teachers, the projection you're getting off of them is immense.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's something going on. Like that's, I don't know what exactly it is, but it's pretty clear because it's like you do the same. It's not like they have some special blend of postures and breathing techniques, right? It's all the same stuff, just, maybe different orders and everything, but it's all, there's only so many, right? In fact, I think there's a set number, right? There's like 100 and something sets.
I've heard a few different. I've heard 100 and something, then I've heard up to 300. So
okay, well, whatever. But it's like but it's not like it's this. Amount. Yeah, it's not this infinite playbook.
Right.
And so, like, what's the difference between one person teaching that set and somebody else teaching it and the impact that it has?
Yes.
Because it's definitely noticeable. Like, I mean, yesterday I full on vagaled out, like passed out during a breathing exercise. And this is not my like first rodeo with breathing, It's like we've done some pretty significant stretches of just straight up like holotropic breathing, 2-3 hours at a time.
Yep.
And I've never passed out, like never even come close to passing out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, we definitely, that was an intense, and I think that's what I love about these teachings. I took just to give the listeners a little bit of background, I've been doing Kundalini yoga probably for 6 or 7 years now, I'd say, on and off. And I always really enjoyed it. But, it's like, whatever happens in life, you get distracted or you get pulled out of the frequencies that maybe are beneficial for you until they're the right fit. But this year, it was just perfect timing for me to finally take that leap into the teacher training, which I've wanted to do pretty much since the first year I started practicing. I knew it was a technology and a methodology that I wanted to be able to deliver myself. And so I've been 2 out of my first 3 weeks of teacher training. But of course, this particular facility that I train with which is the Rama Institute, wants you teaching right away because it's their belief that it's like your divine lineage to start teaching this stuff right away and to develop your own projection of this information. So each teacher has their own frequency, their own sound current, their own energetic imprint that they're carrying this technology with. Yeah. And that has been, given to you through the divine lineage from the golden chain of teachers. And so, it's just been, I'm really excited to start imparting this wisdom that I know has been deeply held in my soul, waiting to come out for a long time. Yeah. And it's just, it's really exciting. So being with these teachers and experiencing what I've gained from it, watching you, really, it's kind of amazing. I mean, obviously me, I'm like, woohoo, I love it. It's awesome. Yeah. I'm a little more easy to please, I guess, in that regard. But watching you and the effect it's had on you has been really amazing. It's pretty profound.
Yeah. Well, the thing, so a couple of things. Well, like one of the other things that I like about this, and having listened in on a couple of your teacher trainings to sort of understand this whole thing, like there's a whole joke about a certificate, right? Like the right. Like the head dude is like a certificate for what? He's like, you either get the messages and you can project them or you can't. Like, right. But if you guys want us to print you a piece of paper or whatever, like we'll do it, So there's like a looseness about it that's interesting. And I think what it comes down to is that, and like what, it like lends some credibility, I think, to what it is that they're teaching, in that it's not some dogmatic, systematized thing that's like, you do it my way under our lineage or else you're out. Right. There's a structure that they want you to follow, and there's like 3 rules. Right. You know what I mean? Right. and they're serious about those rules, but it's like the rest of it is you developing your own framework for how you're going to teach this or practice it, and to me, it's like, it just makes all the sense in the world, you know, that like, especially if you're going to take this into a little bit more of a spiritual realm, like not religious, but like a spiritual realm, where in my experience, like as soon as something gets a name, like it's fucked. You know what I mean? Even paleo. You know what I mean? Like paleo was fantastic until they started calling it paleo, and then you're like, it's the end is nigh. We have a name, And so like that seems to be the kind of thing, right? It turns into an ism. And so with this framework and the way that they go about sort of handing this stuff down, for someone, especially someone like you, who's like basically, give me 3 pointers and then let me run. It's perfect. It's like the exact right way to do it. And it's going to take time and reps, which is what they're saying. You need to start teaching right away because
yeah,
it's going to take a minute to develop your own thing.
Yeah, totally.
And that's pretty cool. So the other thing that has been a real positive about it, for you and I specifically, is that it's one thing that we're doing together that really gets us on the same page and balances us sort of out. It's like the working together, living together, now actually in our new place, we can be in different rooms, which is amazing. So
I even lose you sometimes.
Yeah, I know. It happened to both of us today. I'm like, I hear her, but where is she in this house? But we've had a lot of together time, and that can, breed all sorts of just negative patterns, right? It's like you're just constantly with each other, and there's good and bad in that, right? But when it's bad, it's like it's constant.
Yeah.
And there's something about having this thing that we do together that like that's super helpful. And I think that it has very much gotten us on the same page, like energetically about things, even when we don't agree, programmatically about, what we're going to do. It's not like we do Kundalini and then all of a sudden we both make the exact same business decisions.
Right.
But energetically it evens us out. And so the conversations are better,
Right. Yeah. And it's just, obviously there's just an energetic boost that it gives us both. It kind of gives us a lightness of being going into whatever we're doing for the day. And it just sort of tunes us up to just, I think, operate at a lot higher frequency and a lot higher output. And I just have noticed, like, things that seemed like they needed to take weeks at a time or whatever, sometimes can happen in an afternoon. It's like, and this is one of the things that I love about Kundalini. I remember watching Guru Jagat years ago, or maybe I was actually at a class with her in Venice. And she was talking about one of the amazing things about doing Kundalini is that you start to learn how to bend time in a way. You start to like be able to manipulate time in a way where you gain back your frequency, your output, because you're not having to necessarily go through all of the motions that you have to when you're not working at an optimized frequency. And I really have noticed that. It's like the things that used to, we'd have to slog through or whatever, just kind of getting done, and then it's over and on to the next thing. And I'm just really amazed by the consistency of that and the reflection of that from our consistent practice and our consistent showing up to it. And now it's like, we went to, our beautiful friends got married last weekend. Maybe some of you saw the wedding photos. I got to officiate, and actually it was my first wedding to ever officiate. So it was a really beautiful experience, and it's one of my best friends, Erin, and her wonderful partner, Neil, who got married.
Erin and Aaron. Aaron and Erin.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
Erin and Neil. And we tuned in before the wedding, and we had some kind of yogic stuff throughout the ceremony, but we didn't actually do our hour-and-a-half set that day. And it was like, by the next day, I was like, okay. Yeah. And like, it's just, it's crazy how quickly you get used to having that kind of frequency in your daily routine, and you just don't want to miss it. You want to be optimized, and you want to keep going up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a weird, it's definitely a strange sensation, and it's the thing, like, so a lot of people talk about this, right? And like the flow genome guys talk about it from a productivity perspective. And like, as far as I can tell, it's essentially the same thing. You're getting into this state where, and they use the STIR acronym, right? So it's selflessness, timelessness, and then an I and an R, whatever the other things are, right? But those are the sensations of flow when you lose track of time, or like what you were saying, this sort of bending of time. And ultimately it feels as though no time has gone by at all, yet your project is completely done. Right. So then all of a sudden you're like, well, how did I get all of this time back? How did I accomplish so much in such a short period of time? And it's something that you have to, like the flow guys, they look for triggers, right? And deep work, and like all of these guys that are working on productivity are all hammering at this same sort of neurobiology, right? Like what's going on, or neurochemistry even, that's creating these states. Like what chemicals are we, exuding, emitting, or whatever that's causing this to occur. And so everybody's sort of coming at it from a different angle, and Kundalini's coming at it from a super bizarre angle, but it gets to the same damn thing, and the difference of it is that, like, so I would say that, Stephen Kotler or one of these flow guys, if you were to say, hey, go do Kundalini before you sit down to try to write 5 chapters or 500 pages or whatever in your book, they'd be like, no, I don't get it. I have to do this process. But like, surprise, if you go ahead and do it, that's what occurs.
Right.
And so I think for us, like, it would be interesting to know how many people experience this with Kundalini yoga. Like, because I know that, like, when you started going and when I went initially, it was like, we're going to yoga, but it's weird yoga.
Right.
It wasn't seen, at least immediately, as like a performance enhancing drug, so to speak, but like as it is now, when we do our set in the morning, it's like some of the most productive hours of work that fall right after it.
Totally.
And it's,
and some of the best creativity and some of the best, just chemistry, I think. And just, again, it's just all of that stuff that sort of synchronizes and comes into place, and it makes it easier to activate.
Well, and it's the first, so doing these Kundalini sets, because I've been meditating it started at 5 minutes a day and then got up to 30 minutes a day, like towards the end of our, COVID lockdown. So September, right? Like I was doing a solid 30 minutes of meditating. And, which has always been like a nice calming reflection, put on my headphones and binaural beats. And it's like a really great way to kind of create some space in the beginning of the day. But it's not something that I've ever been able to like meditate on something, right? Where like take a thought into it and like see what I think about it, right? Like it would like help me with decisions or gain clarity or anything like that. Never was that like a possibility in regular ass meditating. But with Kundalini, it's very different. Like it's the only thing that I've ever done, including all of the plant medicines, that I have a like clear and rational thought that shows up that I'm like, oh yeah, no, that's what I need to do. Like these decisions, these things just roll in, things that have been in my subconscious that I've been thinking about and mulling over for however long, and they just pop through. They're like, nope, this is what's up. And then you're going to do this, and then you're going to do this, and then you're going to do this, which is fascinating, you know, and we'll see, I've been writing some of it down, so we'll see how many of them are good ideas.
I love this.
But it's interesting.
No, I love that you're doing that because, this is actually, I'm so glad you're talking about this because I'm doing a full day activation on Sunday, which is going to be pretty much, going into this quantum field. Like this is what you're working in at this point is you're going into this quantum field where like, time and space are sort of a moot point. It's sort of where like all of this infinity exists and we can go and sort of pluck out and distill out what is purposeful for us if we have that intentionality. And this is exactly what I love about Kundalini and why we're starting the activation, the full day activation with the 2-hour set is so exactly this. We can start pulling these things that are in our subconscious and start thinking, pulling in these ideas and getting some clarity around them so that we can then powerfully activate on them instead of being so confused and so spread thin and so, distracted by all of this stuff. We can actually get some frequency around it and start to attune to what's most important for us. And I think, this is about delivering on our destiny. This is about delivering on our soul's purpose. For me, the longer that I'm watching what's happening in the world and the more I'm observing the states of consciousness that are being sort of brought to the top, if you will, like we're really starting to see where people are in their reality. Like we're starting to see very deeply...
The lizard people.
Yes, deeply contrasted realities.
Right.
And we've talked about this before, like who you are has been turned up all the way in COVID. And so we're being really faced with the reality of who we are in our conscious and our subconscious. Like this, it's all bubbling to the surface. And, it's my belief that this is a time for us collectively as a human species, as a conscious species, to decide, like, do we want to deliver on the highest intention of our soul's purpose? Are we going to allow some of these, lower frequencies to drag us out of our soul's destiny? And I'm all about bringing us into alignment for myself, for our community, for humankind. It's time for us to sort of get the chaos out of the way so that we can start holding the kind of purposefulness that is going to change the reality of the world that we live in.
Yeah. That's good.
And
good
so,
stuff.
And so I just, I think it's just so, it's so cool to hear you say that because it's my intention. And this is something that I've experienced over the years, what you're talking about, that clarity and that sort of just knowingness, like, no, this is the next move to make. That's something that I've had with me. And is a lot of what Be the Wellness has been predicated on is that sort of instinctual knowing to take certain steps or to make certain leaps or to take certain risks. And I think that if we can get systematized around that, where we feel more embodied and more held in making those decisions, because there's seemingly a structure and a pattern and a knowingness around it, it just makes it easier for us to activate into those things and make bigger plays, step in more boldly to who we're meant to be in this life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, at a very sort of like rudimentary level, it almost doesn't matter. And this is one of the things that I've been thinking about a little, is it's like trying to understand, okay, so in these sort of altered states of consciousness that you get into through the postures and the breathing, why would that matter? You know what I mean? Like, why would that shift in the state of mind lend any amount of clarity to problems that you've been thinking about consciously for weeks? Mm-hmm. Like, why the fuck would that matter? You know? And I don't know, like it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't really pencil, other than, maybe there's some sort of access into the subconscious, or there's some sort of falling away of some of the distractors, you know what I mean? Like ego-based things, fear-based things that might make it difficult for you to make the decision, right? Where you're like, consciously you're thinking, yes, this has got to be the right answer. And then subconsciously and even behaviorally, maybe your body's like, oh, but if you're wrong, it's going to be embarrassing. You know what I mean? So there's like all of these little internal influences that are fucking with you. And I think in that state, maybe those things they fall away a little bit, right? And so then it's just like, ta-da, here's this idea, and it just really stands out, And so that's kind of where I came to with it. But what I've been thinking also is that it almost doesn't matter, because we know that the most important thing to do is make a decision and start moving. Mm-hmm. And you're going to change it. It's going to change. Like, there's nobody has ever developed the perfect plan and executed it. Like, that's just it's never occurred. In fact, and this is like, I used to teach this shit, like just make a decision. Right. It's going to change. Mm-hmm. The fire's going to get bigger and you're going to have to make another decision. So just make one and start, and it's like freaking landmark. What is there to do? It's only the next thing in your word in the matter, right? Like, what's the very next thing to do? So make the damn decision. And if that comes to you through Kundalini, great. Make the decision. You can always change it. You're going to change it, But I was thinking about this quote that actually was just in this book that I picked up. One nice thing about moving and taking like a year to go get all of your stuff is that you find all these books that you were going to read and like didn't for whatever reason. So they're showing up. But this one seems apropos. So this is a quote from Charlie Munger. I believe in the discipline of mastering the best of what other people have figured out.
Yeah. Amen.
And that's what's going on here, right? It's like other people have figured out ways of doing this. Right. And it may seem super weird, because it was potentially 7,000 years ago in a cave in India, right? Or whatever.
Well, yeah. And this is the thing, is that yogic science and a lot of these esoteric teachings are always beyond traditional science, are always beyond Western thought, because it's like these teachings are coming from lineage and from realms, if you will. I mean, we haven't even got into the Akashic realms and the Akashic records that I've been working deeply in. Some of these teachings are coming from realms of reality that most people aren't even familiar with. Mm-hmm. I mean, most people haven't even heard of the Akashic records and don't even understand what that is. And so there's, and maybe don't believe it even exists. It doesn't really matter. But this kind of, these thought forms and these teachings sort of are always the lead edge for where science starts to look for reasonings why these things might be right. Mm-hmm. And it's like your example with Stephen Kotler and the flow genome guys is great, right? It's like they're looking for what this state is that they can achieve. And they're going, okay, well, it's these 5 neurochemicals that are created in the brain. And we know in certain things that we do create the sequence to create that neurochemical response. It's like, but that had to start somewhere, right? It had to start with an experience. Exactly. And then science went, okay, well, why did I feel that way? Why did it occur that way? And I feel like yogic technologies and yogic science in their own right are always giving science a place to look and to discover and to explore. And so that's what I love about, just, for folks who need the science and that's important to them, that there are ways that that's starting to be proven, or there's, evidence that supports that, okay, you did actually have that experience. But for those who are not necessarily so attached to that, I mean, you can really start to push out into some frequencies with a little bit of belief and a little bit of acceptance of some potentiality of different levels of reality. And I don't know, it's just really exciting.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and really all it takes is like being open to the idea and then committing to doing it for like a week.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, because it is one of those things, like the first couple of classes that you go through, it's really hard to get out of your mind because you're like embarrassed to be, trying to move planets with your fingers, or you're like, whatever. There's so like Kundalini is chocked full of stupid annoying things to do.
This is actually so funny because this is a particular set of things that are hard for you. I never had the embarrassment or like the, but it's funny because like for you to be like, hey, do this finger thing and say hada 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 hada.
Exactly. It's like it makes me feel ridiculous, And so, but these are the things, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you need to do things that put you outside of your comfort zone.
Right.
I mean, and again, back to like the landmark comparison. I mean, they have you cold call people that and tell them that you're joined a cult, basically, and that you want them to join as well. That makes everybody uncomfortable, But that's where the shit shows up, right? Is like once you hit some level of discomfort,
Yeah. So I'm really excited to be, offering this first activation. And, I'm particularly excited because this will be my first Kundalini set, outward facing, public, whatever you want to call it. And there's something really special to that particular first imprint that a teacher gives and to the students who show up. And so I really invite you to join me because there's a specific set of frequencies that activate in all of us when we do something new together and we make a commitment to create a new paradigm for ourselves and for others. And so, as much as you might think like, oh, just catch Vanessa on the next time she does something or whatever, there's never this time. There's
only one of these.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's never another time for you to activate this series of frequencies. And so, and this is one of the things that I think I've really gotten out of my work in Kundalini is that I had a sense of putting things off, like, oh, I'll get to the next one or the next one. And I don't do that anymore. I show up for the practice. I show up for the things because there's only this time. There's only this sound current. There's only this moment of activation in this celestial timing.
Yeah.
This will never occur again.
It's like Deadheads.
Yeah.
You got to catch every show, man, because you never know. You never know. You might miss their cover of Jingle Bells or whatever.
Well, it's true though, in a way, because what you're actually saying is that you are downloading the divine attunement to your life in each moment, and you're not waiting for your life to occur some other time.
Right.
You're saying, no, now is the time I'm going to activate. And there's no better time than the beginning of the year to really get activated, to really get clear into what it is that you want to create and what you want to align with, particularly in 2021. I mean, we are coming out of a mega shift energetically, and we're not done. This train has just barely left the station. There are going to be some major shifts in consciousness over the next, I mean, for God's sakes, we have a countdown to disclosure.
Yeah. Baked into a COVID relief package, which is like, well,
People, this shit is it's happening.
yeah.
There's gonna be, and you can mark my words. I'm happy to say this. There are gonna be some things that are gonna blow your mind coming out to reality. That you are gonna think all these crazy people who were talking about all these crazy things, all these conspiracy theories. You're gonna be amazed at how much shit ends up being true.
yeah. Yeah.
And I will follow that by saying the reality we focus on is the reality we create. And so I'm not a person who feels strongly that I need to dive deeply into conspiracy theories and animate that energy and animate that frequency and blow it up in our reality, because we are the creators of our paradigm. So the more that we're, spinning that up and spinning that out and making that mean something, the more it's penetrating our psyche in a way that can be damaging for some people.
Yeah, well, it's never a positive story. You know what I mean? It's like, when was the last time you heard, like, there's a whole gang of Jolly Rancher flavored gummy bears that run around? You know what I mean? It's like, they're never fun conspiracies. It's always some nefarious, thing. That people aren't conspiring to pick up all the garbage along I-5. You know?
Totally.
It's like, no, what's happening?
Yes. Yeah. So my point is, although we may discover some of these things are true and that some of these things have a place in reality, it's also important for us to focus more on what it is that we want to create and more on what we are committed to fulfilling on our soul's destiny and making a positive contribution in the earth experience. And so that's why, as much as like I love a good conspiracy theory as the next girl, my focus is more about how can I be an energetic output that supports the highest frequency on planet Earth? Mm-hmm. And, there's aliens. Like, no one even needs to disclose that to me. We'll get to that topic another time. But that's not what I'm most concerned about. I'm most concerned about how am I contributing to the paradigm in which we want to live in which we want to create. And that's what I'm inviting you to do with me as well.
Yeah, that's legit.
That's legit.
Yeah, because what if, what was the guy, the Israeli space commander?
Oh, right. Yeah.
That's not what his title was, but it was something like that. Secret space commander. But he was like, yeah, basically the aliens just, they're waiting for us to get our shit together, you know? And
I mean, it's 100% true. And I have deep meditations where I'm able to connect with a lot of extraterrestrial, celestial beings. And that's exactly it. They're just like, we're so excited for you guys to get here because this party is way better, but you're just not there yet. And it's like, so this is part of our opportunity. And this is why I'm so excited about this. This is the kind of thing that we do to change our frequencies, to elevate consciousness, to elevate planet Earth as a whole, so that we can actually attune to some of these higher beings who just have shit a lot more figured out than us. Like free energy and, just a lot more peaceful, a lot more, I think a lot more peaceful, a lot more loving, a lot more divine creation of reality.
We'll see. I'm unconvinced on the divinity and the kindness.
Well, I don't think
there's so many weird, crazy stories that are like arguably negative.
For sure.
Like, and we're talking like in the Wayback Machine, stuff that's written on cave walls where they're like, yeah, these guys are crazy. They came here,
Yeah. And I'm not saying that every single alien species or every single alien race is benevolent.
Teletubbies.
Yeah. Or even, wants the best for Earth. In fact, I think that's probably not the case. But there are definitely some higher level beings that are really pulling for us. Yeah. That's for sure.
High level beings.
High level beings. Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's good to know.
Yes.
It's comforting.
We've got some people in our court. Some beans.
Beings. All right, that's cool. So what else should we know about this event?
Well, I'll just kind of go through like the schedule of events so that people can just get an understanding of what we'll be working on. Obviously, we've talked at length about the activation with Kundalini and just kind of optimizing our frequency to kick off this event. And then we're going to really start creating a blueprint for our 2021. And the reason I'm excited to do it from this place of having completed our Kundalini set is exactly like what you were talking about. I want to help people clear out the riffraff. So kind of maybe clear out the consciousness of things that don't really want to be created, but maybe you think they should be created, where you can actually be in a frame of mind and have a frame of reference for what you really want to create. Mm-hmm. And so you can start attuning to with your actual soul's purpose, your actual dharmic path. And then we're going to update some soul contracts. We're going to see, I've talked about this at length in my Authentic Self program, and it's something I've talked about on social media, but we do have contracts with other beings in this lifetime to create certain circumstances so that our soul can learn certain lessons and evolve. But sometimes we're complete on those lessons, or we actually can skip over those because, again, we're able to attune to a higher frequency that maybe we don't need that particular event to occur or transpire in the way that we initially contracted it with that other being. So we're going to go through and scrub some of our contracts and see what needs to be updated. What are the things that are out there lingering in the soul space that maybe can be updated, edited, or gotten rid of completely? And I just think that's a really powerful way to, again, activate more powerfully and expedite this process into your highest calling. And then finally, we will end the evening with an Akashic records healing, and I'll be using a lot of the crystal technology that I've been working with as well. What I love about the Akashic records is that it's literally a record keeper of your soul. So everything that has happened to your soul, could happen to your soul, would happen to your soul. It's sort of an energetic imprint or Google for your soul. Now, you always have free will, and you always have the opportunity to change the circumstances and the frequencies that are going to be captured in that Akashic record. So we're going to open the Akashic records and actually start looking at some of the frequencies that are held there for your soul and start updating those and really activating those as well. And then, the crystals, what I love about the crystals, and I invite anyone out there who works with crystals to bring theirs to the actual ceremony, because those crystals can hold these new frequencies that we're attuning to. So we can actually imprint them with these higher sort of thought forms and have them help us hold ourselves in that space. And so whether or not you have them with you in your home, it doesn't matter. I'll have crystals that I'll be working with and on my side of it that can activate for you. But if you do have some, then we want to pull those in so that they can help you hold that energetic output.
Bam.
That's some hippie speak, huh? Straight up.
What's hilarious to me about it though is that like there's some percentage of the population who was like with you.
Yeah.
On that entire run.
Yeah.
And is like, oh my God. This is my event, right? And it's such a trip. And it's like, because that like channel exists. This is why, there's not one strength and conditioning coach in the world that writes programming for everyone. So everybody's got their thing.
Well, and this is the thing, actually. I'm glad you said that, because I think one of the things I've done in the past is I've tried to water that down a bit so that I could kind of make it more approachable or make it more digestible or understandable.
More relatable.
More relatable. But, I pull down my frequency by doing this, because who I am and my real speak, my real soul conversation was what I just said.
Yeah.
That is genuinely from like the soul point of myself. And to water that down is actually a disservice, because I'm not actually giving the gift of who I really am and what my soul imprint is. And it's what I want others to do as well. And so, I'm willing for some people to hear that and think whatever they think, it's okay, because that I'm willing to buffer that because I can hold it now. I couldn't hold it before. I don't think I had the power in my in my auric field.
We didn't have enough crystals.
We did not have enough crystals, dude. Seriously.
We had almost zero for like our entire lives together.
Dude, you're so right. And now I have like a lot.
A lot.
A lot.
There's a significant amount of crystals.
So with crystals comes a new dictionary. Completely new way to speak. But I think it's really important because I want those people out there who are afraid to talk about these things or afraid to step into these things or don't want to feel stupid or, don't want to feel ridiculed. All those things it's okay. This is why we work on holding this energy. This is why we do the Kundalini. This is why we do this work so that we can hold the auric imprint and we don't have to be afraid. And in fact, once we can hold that, truly the criticism and the stuff kind of falls away because you're not there for it. You're not available for it. And so, the people that it falls on, that it hits in a certain way, it's almost like it falls on deaf ears, but it doesn't come back at you. And so I just want you to know out there, like, if you're feeling a calling towards stepping into this and you feel that you hear these words and maybe it doesn't even totally make sense to you, but on a soul level, on a gut, impact, you're like, she's speaking to me. Just know that, like, this is why we do this stuff, so we can be safe in our work and we can be safe in our path.
Yeah. Cool. I like it.
Yeah. So I hope to see many of your beautiful faces. And I just...
So logistically though.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Zoom.
This is all on Zoom. It starts at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. So we'll kick off with a 2-hour Kundalini set. I'll be teaching you about tuning in the Om Namo Gurudev Namo that Adam and I started this with. And, starting to train you into your own sound current and teach you just how to bring in your own frequency through sound.
Yeah.
And everything will be on Zoom. You just have to bring a journal, maybe some water, some snacks, and we will just be in the cocoon, metamorphosizing into our most impactful being for 2021.
Yeah. And I'll say, as a Zoom skeptic, right, when it comes to like, all right, well, it's fine for a teleconference, but how the hell are you supposed to tap in with a meditative teacher or something like that? It works. Yeah. I, again, don't know why, but it certainly does. Like, you can really get into that space.
I mean, this is the quantum field, right? Like, we're working in these realms and this is what we are, as a human species, we are evolving past the physical boundary. It's part of becoming infinite in ourselves. And so, like, this technology is helping us to create that on a bigger level. And obviously there's some negative things that come with technology, but this is one of the beautiful things. Yeah. Is that we can transmit this information and these frequencies, and they can be received deeply. Yeah.
So what would you say, like, from a risk factor perspective, like, what is the risk of somebody taking this course and literally turning into energy, floating away?
That's the risk.
Yeah. I mean, because if it was me, I'd want to know.
I mean, the very worst thing that could happen is you could just say, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
Like, which is great, because when you learn something isn't for you, then you learn more of what is for you.
Yeah, that's true.
And so honestly, there's been a ton of things I've tried that I've gone, oh, I'm so glad I did that, because because
I will never do it again, and now I don't have to worry about it.
Well, and there's some level, some frequency where you're just like, oh, I want to try that at some point. Yeah, that sounds cool. I've heard about that, blah, blah, blah. And it holds space in your auric field. Yeah, it's in your field until you check that box. Yep. You're always like, have one little bit of yourself dedicated to that thought form. And when you complete on something and you're like, nope, that's not for me, then it's out of your field. Now you can be more about what you are for.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. It's such a solid point. Yeah. And so, come and check off a bunch of those boxes.
Yeah. And hopefully it's for you, and hopefully you get an amazing experience out of it. But even if your experience is not for me, then that's amazing too.
Yeah.
We'll call it a win. Awesome, you guys. I just want to wrap this episode I'm actually getting asked to do this, and I'm going to open the Akashic records. I feel like I'm supposed to open the Akashic records and just allow a little bit of that energy to come through into this conversation. So I'm just going to start with the Akashic prayer that I use to open the records, and we're just going to see what happens. So from the north, south, east, west, as above, as below, may all angels, guides, seers, and the Great Spirit guide us in this journey. May our hearts be received and our visions be guided in light and love. May the deepest wisdom come forth for us all in this moment, and may we be supported by the ancients of all creation. The records are open with the greatest integrity to serve myself and all humankind. All is held in a stream of light and love. All is guided. All is protected. The records are now open. You are loved. And I just want to tune in really quick here and see. Okay, so there's so much chaos in your mind, and there's so much addiction to that chaos. We move into that chaos like a safe blanket that we pull over us at night. And we think we're keeping ourselves warm, but we are actually activating in the ways that are least safe and least held for us. And so this is your time, this is your moment to break the chain, break the cycle of addiction to the chaos, to step away from the monotony of those frequencies, because even addiction can be so boring. And as we become bored with our addiction, we grow deeper into it, looking for that stimulus once again to make us feel alive, once again to make us feel embodied. But when we break out of our addiction, we realize that stillness is where God lives, and all is available to us in that frequency. So from the Akashic records, from all of the seers, from all of the tellers, from all of the doers, and all of the angels and the guidance that are held in this stream of consciousness, we just ask you to take the next best step for you, to step out of the chaos and into the light, where you'll be fully received, fully embodied, and fully held in love. And your divinity will be held in the imprint of creation for all time. Aho. So I don't know who that's for, but that's what we had. So thank you to the Akasha. We'll be working a little bit in the Akashic records. What I love about the Akasha is that actually I get such a beautiful healing when I speak from it. So it's just really a special thing, and hopefully you can feel that as well. I'm going to close the records, and I give thanks to the north, south, east, and west, all the elements, tattvas, the Great Spirit, angels, and guides, guiding all with the hands of creation and love. May we be blessed and loved. May this reading close with the highest integrity to continue to serve and heal, and may all be held in a stream of light consciousness. Aho, the records are now closed. Thank you guys for being with us. We love you. Mm-hmm. I hope to see many of you in the Sunday activation. And that is all for now.
That is all. We'll see y'all next week. We actually have some cool guests coming up.
We do.
It's like we're back in the podcast
We're back in podcast land, guys.
Yeah.
And please share with us, topics, people, things you want to talk about. Any of this esoteric stuff too that you want me to rant on or riff on, let me know, because I'd love to bring on some guests in this regard as well. And this is here to serve you. This podcast is for you. So tell us what makes a difference in your life and in your headspace and in your heart. And we will do our best to provide.
And we'll talk about it.
Yeah, totally.
Or find somebody who will.
I love you guys. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.